Hi everyone, my name is Rimeike. I'm co-founder of Quantum Cybersecurity Skills. We are continuing our talk about quantum, and let me introduce you to John. John, tell a few words about who you are, what organization you are representing, and your field, and we kick it off exploring quantum world.
Hi, everybody. So my name is John Barnes, and I'm founder of Entangled Positions. I'm a quantum career smith, which you could translate to headhunter, recruiter, although some use less polite names for those types of roles. And I've been working within within recruitment since 2004, and took my first steps into recruiting into quantum back in 2014, long before it was fashionable.
Fantastic, good. So first question, why companies should care about quantum and why now, from your perspective?
Yes, I think fundamentally, as the universe is based on quantum, we should all be interested in it, because without it, there isn't us. But more specifically, with regards to businesses, I think probably a good place to start is how things have evolved, certainly since I've been in and around the quantum space. So back in 2014, there were a lot of kind of really cool, glorified science projects. There were a couple of there were some bona fide organizations. D-Wave were obviously a successful commercial entity. The laser manufacturers were doing some really good things. But a lot of the things that we look at as quantum 2.0, they were very much at an embryonic stage. So there were some university spin-outs, some people doing some quite cool stuff that was pre-funding or had a little bit of seed funding. And then over the sort of intervening years, there's been a situation where governments have been funding quantum, some of them sooner than others, and they're now reaping the benefits of that. Then there were some small investments from venture capitalists, financiers. That's really grown. And some of the sort of VCs and financiers that have had an interest over several years, they're now well ahead of the game on this. So there's other venture capitalists they're looking at it from the sort of offensive viewpoint. Then there's those looking at it from a defensive viewpoint. And when people are looking at it thinking, well, everyone else is doing it, we should do it, that's when you're likely to make bad investments. So I think that side of things just gives a little bit of credence as to where we come from. But I think, why would people want to get involved in it? Well, there's so many technologies associated with quantum 2.0 that over time they will impact have the potential to impact every sector that we currently work with. So within that, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of value in terms of working out how it's going to impact your business, how it's going to impact your staff, and really what you need to do to become quantum ready, because quantum readiness means a different thing to different people. But it is coming. Quite what it looks like, no one knows, but it certainly is coming. So the sooner you adapt to it or understand how that may impact you and your business, the better prepared you are. And I think we've seen, whether it be with the web or data or artificial intelligence, how that's revolutionized things. And this is a fundamental branch of physics, if not the fundamental branch of physics. So the potential there, it's who knows quite exactly what scale that takes, but I'd much rather be in the camp that was ready for it than the one that wasn't.
Okay, no, interesting. I've been speaking with someone from quantum world last week, and one comment really resonated with me, saying that companies tend to delay quantum projects simply because there is no quantum security framework released, and they don't want to risk investing resources, time, money, etc., doing thing, and then with the risk of things standards needing to be redone to comply with whatever will be released. So do you see any observation like this?
Yeah, I think so. I think with regards to that, so to become quantum ready doesn't mean that you necessarily have to have everything that there possibly is in quantum
Mm,
2.0. Um, becoming quantum ready could be as simple as actually identifying members of staff that have an interest in it, finding use cases for your business, finding where there may be value chains. These are all steps to becoming quantum ready.
mm,
It's not a situation where, for example, a window cleaner is going to need a fault tolerant million qubits quantum computer tomorrow. That's not something that
mm,
I think is necessary. But having that quantum readiness, quantum preparedness, I think that's where the value is. And there's a lot of quite interesting groups at the moment who are run by people that don't necessarily come from a physics or a computer science background, but are looking at how it will impact traditional businesses and finding out where those value chains and use cases may come from. I think that's probably for a lot of businesses, and I don't want to sort of have blanket coverage because everyone's slightly different, but I
sure.
think for a lot of businesses, those kind of initial preparedness steps, that's where the value is for many people out there.
Mhm. So you are careersmith. You said in your introduction, right? In terms of quantum readiness, helping organizations. So if there is an organization thinking, yes, we have identified business case, we want to explore quantum. What's your advice? Can they retrain their existing employees? What's needed? What skills? Will they rely on outsourced teams?
Mm.
So what's your view again?
Yes, I think with that, there's not one size that fits all. So, for example, I work with laser manufacturers, quantum computing companies. Now, they need a certain skill set, but because so there's more and more good people being produced with skills, fundamental quantum skills. Now, the trouble is the requirements for those skills are growing exponentially faster. So you don't close the gap by going more slowly than the thing you're chasing. So what that's meant is even those within the quantum ecosystem are looking at, okay, so these are the base skills I need, ABC. We would like to have DEF. However, we can train those skills. For example, if you're a laser manufacturer, well, you're going to be able to train people on your lasers better than anyone else, but you need that caliber or potential to start off with. So when it comes to perhaps not a classic people within the classic industry, you need to look at what your own resources are and what you're looking to achieve by your involvement with Quantum 2.0. So it may be that you've got someone with a background within QIS, for example. You could then take a classic software developer and transition some of their skills if they've been doing, say, scientific computation, or if some maybe with algorithms. You could take someone who's used to writing classic algorithms and potentially look to transition that. And even within that, there's writing classic algorithms for quantum computers or quantum algorithms that are simulated on classic computers.
Yeah.
So the boundaries are slightly blurred in some aspects as to what exactly people mean by quantum. But excuse me, I think it's a case of understanding what you actually need, understanding what you have, and creating a roadmap for that. And because not everyone's requirements are going to be the same.
Okay. I've been listening to you and it made me think. We observe evolution of many cybersecurity roles.
Mm.
Even one of the examples is CISO, right? CISO was 5 years ago even purely focused on technology, right? Now CISO is the big bridge between business and technology, right? To explain to the board why and how it's done, about the risks and so on. So there are many examples, like also security engineers. We see more transitioning into security operations, etc. So which roles you think, you did mention developers, right? Retraining developers. Which other roles? And maybe let's talk a little bit about those specific skills, at least top 3 skills you see in the requests, from your clients. But so which roles will be transitioning for quantum readiness, and what are the top 3 skills on demand?
Well, so I think so. As someone who spent 10 years recruiting in and around the software arena, whether it's developers, architects, or others related to that system, I think one of the things that I've seen from quite a long way out would be your perhaps your solutions architects, enterprise architects. I think there's potential in natural transition, as particularly the technology agnostic architects that you get, because I think there will be a requirement to translate the technical and business and create a framework to work within. So I think that's something I can see a logical transition. Obviously, it will require training and development, but that's something I think could transition quite nicely. I think with the security side of things is quite an interesting one, because if you think about what quantum technology, whether it's quantum cryptography, QKD, that offers an inherently secure channel to provide information, because if someone looks at that information, well, they get a useless copy, you get a blurred copy, but you know that someone's looked at it. And I'm simplifying that, but you take the meat. One of the challenges, though, is that actually, if the whole system isn't run that way, then where's the weak spot? If you've got some metal in your computer that touches, well, guess what? Then you could potentially be hacked by a classic system. So I think that perhaps that integration piece is where I think that some of the challenges may lie. How you integrate. So you're on a computer which runs on quantum 1 technology, and you're sending information using quantum 2 technology. It's encrypted on photons or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, that has to then come back into your laptop, which is running on transistors and sort of quantum technology from 100 or 50, 100 years ago. Now, that intersection, I think that's where there's some interesting conversations to be had. And I think we're seeing this quite a lot, where companies that are working within quantum are engaging more with classic businesses. And it's that integration piece where you need the kind of the quantum on one side, the classic on the other, but then the classic needs a bit of an understanding of quantum, and the quantum needs a bit of an understanding of classic. So I think from a security perspective, where that interacts, that's somewhere where there can be real value provided, with the people in the quantum 2 ecosystem interacting with people in the classic ecosystem, and both learning a little bit more about what's required from the other side to bridge that gap. Because if you take security, quantum is inherently secure, but somewhere along the line it needs to interact with existing technologies, and that's something that I think is an area that there should be some growth, both in terms of roles and work, but also in terms of developing that technology and bringing quantum 2 into the sort of the classic world.
Yeah. No, what you are mentioning totally resonates with some other conversations I had recently, also from Quantum World, which will be released in different shapes, like blog articles and so on. But totally what you are saying, it resonates in, as I say, in different conversations. Okay, so one of the questions I had, so this video will be made available for global public, but I'll be also taking your key points, as you know, for security insider.de article. So how could you help organizations with your business specifically? So just to introduce again, the projects you are currently working, are you also sourcing for quantum cybersecurity specialists, so just in perspective of getting more business, how you can help organizations.
Yes, so as I said, I took my first steps into the sort of quantum recruitment world 7 years ago, and it's been a time of real development within the quantum sector. So, but I think one of the challenges that we have is scaling our business to match the scaling of quantum. And so it's hard to find people with quantum skills. It's even harder to find quantum recruiters because they simply don't exist, or the other, maybe one or two people that have actually got genuine experience within quantum recruitment, more than about a year or 18 months or something. They own their own businesses, so we can't hire each other. So you have to build recruiters rather than buy them, because they simply don't exist, whatever their job title says. So one of our challenges is to scale to match the growth of the industry. But within that, so we're pure play quantum recruiters. So we see a lot of activity around lasers, photonics, different quantum computing systems, whether that's annealers, superconducting, ion trapping, photonic systems. There is obviously a lot of interest within security. We're also seeing people doing some really cool software algorithms, whether it's to look at DNA or to look at healthcare, pharmaceuticals, even agriculture as well. That there's all sorts of projects coming up, and our biggest challenge is to scale, because how we work with candidates, there's a lot goes into the candidate journey, making sure everyone's prepared, educating the client. So it's a time factor. What we don't do is sort of shuffle a few CVs around and hope things work. We provide a consultancy. So the prime focus, obviously, we want to place every person we speak to and find someone for every job that we're sent. But we also, I give coaching to candidates that maybe I don't have a role for. I give coaching to clients that we're not actively working with, but need to understand the market, the landscape, because it's so different to any other arenas that I've worked in previously. But aside from the sort of the day job, I also host a weekly quantum discussion called Entangled Discussions. I'm heavily involved with different quantum community building initiatives. So I was speaking on Friday to Community, which is a global network of young people interested in quantum computing. So Chris Bishop and I worked with the CEO, Anisha Musti, gave a talk on Friday. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi died halfway through, so it wasn't the smoothest talk. But hopefully, I just watched it this morning. It wasn't quite as bad as I was worried about. So I think we got over the technical glitches. But also, giving talks for the OSA, SPIE. And lots of other areas. I think that education piece is very important. And there's groups like such as One Quantum and Quantum London, the Washington DC Quantum Computing Meetup, lots of other really strong groups that are providing great insight, talking about how that transitions into real world applications. The Quantum Strategy Institute is another group that I think can offer real insight to business owners or decision makers. So yeah, there's lots of different ways that we're working towards sort of building this quantum ecosystem. And after maybe a couple of years ago, I decided that I went from sort of flying under the radar a bit, because the industry wasn't big enough to support both the business I was doing, but also the distractions that would come by people interested in quantum. And then over the last probably year or so, I've actually realized that, the time was right to position myself sort of front and center at these sorts of things, so that there's ethical, responsible discussions about what it entails, both from the business side and also from the recruitment side as well, because we're building things from the ground up. So there's every reason that we can build an ethical, responsible recruitment culture rather than allow all the bad habits that give recruiters a bad name in many sectors. And we've got an opportunity to actually create something that's fit for purpose and better than what's gone before. So that's something I'm strongly passionate about. And if there's business owners that would like to get in touch and have a conversation, I'm happy to either have a consultation with them, or even sort of point them in the right directions, some talks and things like that, because there's an awful lot of information getting exchanged at a very high level, a lot of interesting observations, and being part of that conversation, it adds to the knowledge base within Quantum as well.
Sure.
And the one thing I would say is Quantum's a really inclusive place, because it's quite a small ecosystem. We all know each other, and we're all building it together. People are quite happy to help, and for a lot of people, it's non-transactional. They're happy to assist and help. And it took me a while to get my mind to sort of get my head around that actually people were genuinely open to helping, not just for what they got back, but to generally try and create something special. So I'd always say, just reach out, try and get involved, try and speak to people, and hopefully have some fun doing it as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. But by the way, talking about, what you do besides day job, it's very inspiring. On that note, I would also like to say, we did recently training, which achieved very good feedback and references. So what we did, we merged security services operations with the business on each business level: strategic, tactical, and operational. So why things are being done, and what does it mean at different business level. So, okay, this course, of course, is paid for CISOs, for SOC managers, and SOC analyst level 3, but we're discussing currently partnership where we're going to release part of this course as basic for free. And one of the other things that we are passionate about doing is similar approach, but taking Quantum and connecting to the business, the business why at every step, Quantum operational, tactical, strategical, and how it connects with business. So to have also free education for business leaders who just want to understand better perspectives of Quantum. It won't be scientific Quantum training, but just to get more insight what Quantum means at different, as I say, organizational verticals for business and so on. So it's nice, as I say, to hear your activities, and maybe there is an opportunity to merge those activities. But anyway, that's for separate conversation. Good. So yeah, thank you so much, John, for your time, and I appreciate you being on SOC superposition interview. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Emma. It's been really good talking. And where does the time go on these things?
Ciao.